Well, when did you go to work for them? I know, well, first of all, how old are you, Wayne?
I'm 70.
70, wow, okay. We met, I believe, when, well, we knew each other from church, but, you know, you was a lot younger. And,
A lot younger.
I didn't mess with you. And didn't have time for you. But later we become pretty good friends.
Yes, we are.
And I think you were probably a senior when we really hooked up.
Yeah.
And I just got back from the service.
Yes.
And I was working for the weekly newspaper that was owned.
Well, at that time, the Brewer family sold the radio station in Claremore to a man named Talaferro. He was from Lawton, and his son-in-law was named Wayne Rowley. Wayne Rowley was the general manager. He named him as the general manager of the station, and then
His son-in-law,
Wayne Rowley, and then they hired a sales manager, manager of the station, Wayne Wisenhunt, who grew up here in Claremore.
Wayne was well known in Claremore.
Very popular.
Very popular.
He was grinning all the time. You couldn't help to like him.
Yeah, you had fun when you was around Wayne Wisenhunt.
When you were going to be there.
Yeah.
So he was the actually the working manager. Wayne Rowley was here for maybe a year or so full time, and then when Governor Bartlett won election in 1966, he was on Bartlett's staff. So he was in Oklahoma City all the time, and the boss that we dealt with every day was Wayne Wisenhunt. Wayne Rowley and Wayne Wisenhunt were in business together for other aspects in Claremore, and they owned a print shop. And Legate Grocery, which the building is still there off of 4th Street, where the Creative Art building is now, they hired the printing company to make handbills or flyers that had the grocery store's weekend bargains.
Okay.
So they needed somebody to distribute these flyers around town, so they hired a bunch of knucklehead kids, including me, to go around the city and downtown and put these flyers indoors or on car windshield wipers, things like that, so people would know what the bargains are this weekend.
So this was before they took over the radio?
No, they had taken over the
They'd
radio.
already taken over the radio.
So one day, Wayne asked me if I wanted to make 50 cents a day. Now, this passing out the handbills was only on Thursday because of the weekend and all that. So he asked me if I wanted to come into the radio station every day and clean it.
No, this was around 1970?
This is in 60. This is 66. I was in ninth grade.
Well, you even learned.
I had to ride my bicycle to work.
Okay. And you lived where?
Where I live today, we lived south of Claremore, about 3 miles on a small farm, 100 acres.
And your folks, what were their names?
My dad was Wadey McCombs, and my mother was Dixie.
And they lived here all their life?
Yes.
Or
Well, my dad was at Claremore, Catoosa, in that area, and my mom grew up in Verdigris.
Okay.
And she was in the last class of Verdigris High School before they shut down during World War II, and then they never reopened. You know,
That's the high school
didn't grow much down there until later. So my mom worked at First National Bank, and Wayne's wife also worked at First National
Maxine.
Bank. Maxine was a really sweet lady.
Yes, she is.
Really sweet lady. And they had heard, she said, well, why don't you, she knew of me because I would go in to see my mom or whatever. And so they asked me if I would want to clean the radio station out, vacuum, empty the ashtray.
Now, by now, it's over on 2nd Street or Patty Page.
Yep. So I went in there, and for about almost a year, I went in Monday through Friday after school for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I would ride home with my mom when she got off work from the bank. It was cleaning ashtrays. I mean, that's been everybody smoked, and the ashtrays were just full. It stunk, and that's why I never smoked a cigarette, because when I cleaned those ashtrays, it smelled so bad.
It does.
So I cleaned and did all that, and then something happened to the transmitter, and a couple of parts blew up or broke or something like that, and so they weren't on the air for 3 days. Well, I still went in because people were still working, recording commercials and doing certain things, and so I was still cleaning up. Well, one day I went into the control room and sat down in the control room and mimicked what I had saw the disc jockeys, announcers do with the records and the microphone. And so I was just kind of playing. And Wayne Wisenhunt walked past the studio, and he poked his head in he walked past me. And then he turned around and came back, and he goes, Wayne, do you know how to fly that thing? Do you know how to run the controller?
Right.
I said, yeah, I can do that. Well, that weekend I was on the air. No training, no nothing. Just from what I had observed, the
Playing
guys
records.
doing. Playing records, and by that time the station started with a format called Middle of the Road. It was Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Perry Como, Patti Page, those type of artists. And then when Wayne Rowley and Wayne Wisenhunt ran the station, they changed it to country music.
Okay.
This was about 63 or 4. And what I mean country music, I don't mean the music we have today. It was country.
Hank Williams,
Hank Williams,
Jimmy Rogers,
Ernest Tubb,
Love Hill.
George Jones. I mean, it was Kitty Wells. It was country, and I thought it was awful.
Well, yes.
I was 15 and I wanted to hear the Beatles and Rolling Stones and stuff like that. So it is a whole new world for me, and you had to act like you liked it when you were on the air. You can go, boy, that record was bad. Well, you'd been fired.
Oh, yeah.